It's more Dr. O, because there's more Dr. O, and I needed to do more Dr. O. Okay, go ahead, Dr. O.
Take that, you dastardly dude! Well, there you go, officer. Another villain that won't be bothering our good city. You caught me playing superhero.
I know you're doing that for the video right now, but you don't just do that for your videos, do you? When John Pendleton played with his dinosaur toys, I didn't think he was going and playing with them when the cameras were off. But I'm getting that impression here.
Oh, this is so embarrassing.
Yup.
Hopefully I'm not the only person that enjoys being the good guy and seeing good triumph over evil.
No, but you're a middle-aged man hitting a tiny car with a plastic hammer. I don't think this falls into that category.
Well, this is Professor O, the object lesson guy again, back to talk to you about arguments for the existence of God.
Now remember, when we're talking about arguments, we're not just talking about arguing. That's what you're going to say, isn't it? I promise I didn't look ahead. I'm just guessing from the last 2 videos.
Now remember, we're not talking about arguing.
Yep, there it is. I'm figuring out your formula, Doctor. Or Professor. Dr. O just sounds better. Neither one of them sounds good, but Dr. O is clearly better. Dr. literally any other letter would be far better still.
We're talking about explaining our faith and why we believe that God is real.
No, you made it quite clear in the last video that what you're doing is trying to make it seem like there's some good reason to believe God is real, regardless of whether or not that is in fact your reason. It's a major distinction.
Now we've already talked about the cosmological argument and the teleological argument, and today I'd like to talk to you about the moral argument for believing that God is real.
Oh good, I thought we were going to stay at the bottom of the barrel and I was kind of disappointed. I'm always hoping we can dig deeper than that. And here we are, scratching our way through the wood.
Now, you'll notice I have here my collection of police cars.
Okay, Mr. Dr. O, how many categories of collections of toys do you own? It's becoming worrying.
I've got my Hummer, complete with a boombox in the back.
Ah yes, very important police equipment.
I've got a really cool sports car, police car.
Does it have a boombox too? Can't expect the sports car cops to do their jobs without the boombox.
Boy, you don't ever want your parents to be chased by this guy.
I don't want my parents to be involved in a police chase in general. Doesn't really matter what kind of car the police are driving. Why is this an issue that pops into your head? What kind of car is better or worse for somebody's parents to be chased by?
They'll never get away.
If your parents are being chased by the police, it's unlikely they're going to get away anyway. But do you expect the kids who watch you to be worried about whether their parents will manage to escape the police during a high-speed chase? Is this the market you're going for? It's oddly specific.
Not that they're running, of course.
No, they're driving.
I've got an antique 50s really cool cop car here.
Now kids, this is the sort of police car you want your parents being pursued by when they enter the chase. Slower acceleration, less maneuverability. Your parents will stand a far better chance of escaping. I hope you're taking notes.
Got a Herbie little VW bug cop car.
Even better. Somehow slower and less aerodynamic than the other one. This is the kind of car we should be advocating for our police forces. You know, because we're interested in beating the bad guys, apparently.
Little stubby cop car and a little mini matchbox cop car.
So just to be clear, these have something to do with the moral argument. That's why you're showing these to me. Definitely not just to have an excuse to show off your toys and play with them. So what aspect of the moral argument do each of these different kinds of cop cars represent? I'd take a guess, but I don't have a guess because how could I possibly have a guess? There's no way in hell that the individual types of cop cars or the cop car collection itself have anything to do with the moral argument. You just want to show off cop cars and tell kids which ones their parents will have the best chance of escaping from.
Now, the reason I've got some cop cars here is I want to kind of propose a little question to you.
Oh, and posing this question required that you have cop cars on a tiny table in front of you. That's unusual, but I'm open-minded.
Let's suppose you go to the store and you're shopping there and you see something in the store you want. Maybe it's a really nice Lego kit.
We get it. Your toys are nice. You have nice toys. They're beautiful. They're wonderful. They're everything I ever dreamed of. So now that I've said that, please stop showing me your toys.
And you see that Lego kit and you think, boy, I'd like to have that Lego kit. Or just picture something that you'd like to buy at the store.
Can you give me any examples? Perhaps from your toy collection. What's this strange lip chicken down here? I think I'd like to have that.
But then you look at the price tag. Ooh. And it's a little too expensive for you. Well, you can't buy it, at least not with money, so you have a couple of options.
So you're about to give me an anti-shoplifting message and pretend it's an argument for God. That's what's happening right now? Okay, just making sure.
Option number 1 is to go to your mom.
So that you can steal it from the store and get in a chase with the police. And cross your fingers, hopefully they haven't updated their cars since 1950.
Please, Mom, I really need this. It'll make my life complete. Please, I'll be really good. I'll clean my room. I'll clean the whole house. I'll do all the dishes. I'll do the laundry. I'll paint the whole house. Please, I'll love you forever.
And screenshotting that for a thumbnail.
And then when that doesn't work and she says, put that back.
My mother does not sound like Elmo, sir. Oh my god, these videos are so stupid.
That's right. You could steal it, or you could just put it back on the shelf.
Okay, mister, thanks for letting me know that I can steal it. Now, whether I do this is going to be based on an evaluation of the relative acceleration and maximum speed of the cars owned by the police and my mom's car. If my mom's got a wicked fast car, I'm going for it, and I'm pretty sure she'll back me up on this.
But what makes it wrong to steal?
Well, your entire theme here is police cars, and you were talking about whether people can run away from them fast enough. So I'm guessing your argument is something to do with the law and whether you'll get caught.
Is it because it's against the law and you could be arrested? What if it wasn't against the law? Would it be okay to steal?
Never mind, I guess that wasn't what you were going for, in which case I find your theme very strange. I'm not sure it conveys what you want to convey because it associates morality with human laws and police. And I know you're trying to separate those two things right now, but giving the video a police theme visually already associates these things. This is for kids, right? They're not really switched on to nuance.
Think about that. Let me ask you it another way.
What toy is it this time, Dr. O?
Let's suppose you loved Jolly Ranchers.
You're one of those? Gross, dude. That's just not right. Outright immoral. What's wrong with you? The wrongness of that is written on my heart, and I know it's written on yours too. And yet you persist. Wait a minute, Jolly Ranchers, that's not a toy. Never mind, I take it all back. I am pleased.
Okay, you probably do love Jolly Ranchers.
I deeply resent that accusation, and I demand an immediate retraction.
Well, let's suppose your mom...
Once again, Dr. O is going to tell you about your mom.
...gave you a big old bag of Jolly Ranchers, enough to last you the whole year of school.
What, does she wish for me to be a pariah? Mother, how dare you? How dare you? Do you not understand that Jolly Ranchers are basically rocks? I hate rocks, John. It's well known that I hate rocks the way Charlie Lyle hated the Bible. And yet here you are insinuating that I partake in them, and that I should be saddled with an entire massive bag of them for an entire year as a child. You have a lot of nerve.
So you took that bag to school and you put it in your desk.
Good job, kid. Now slam the top shut, nail it closed, and never think of it again.
Now, it would be nice to share, but you don't have to share.
Then again, maybe it's the only way to lift the curse. I don't know the details on Jolly Ranchers, I just know the broad strokes.
You could share. You probably should share, but you don't have to share. Sharing is optional.
I like the messages in this video. Yeah, sharing's alright, but don't get too excited.
And this one bag is to last you the whole year. So you take it to school and you put it in your desk. You share with a couple of your friends, but you're trying to make it last the whole year long. Because it's the one bag your mom bought you to last the whole year. And some friends keep bugging you for Jolly Ranchers, and you don't want to give them any, and you don't really have to, and maybe you're just sharing with a couple of friends, and the teacher finds out that you've got a big bag, and you don't want to give them to everybody in the class. So she decides to pass a rule that it's okay to steal your Jolly Ranchers.
That was a long clip. Suddenly I feel like we've been talking about Jolly Ranchers for the past hour. Are we almost at the end of the story? Because I have to admit I'm getting really sick of thinking about, seeing, talking about, and, did I say thinking about Jolly Ranchers? I mean, I think already it's pretty clear. If you have a thing and then somebody else says it's okay to steal the thing you have, does that make it okay to steal the thing you have?
She writes right on the board, it's okay to steal Professor O's Jolly Ranchers.
Why is my teacher referring to me as Professor O? When I was in elementary school, I was not a professor, nor did I have a surname beginning with O. And to be honest, I feel like a teacher referring to a student in this way is borderline sexual harassment.
Now, does that make it okay to steal because she's passed a rule that it's okay to steal from you?
Yeah, I understand this deep moral quandary you're putting forth. I get it.
And you say, well, can I steal from the other kids? And she says, no, it's only okay to steal from you because I'm the teacher and I passed the rule.
The teacher's got it in for Professor O. Based.
Now you might go to the principal and say, this is not fair that someone would make a rule that it's only okay to steal from me, but I'm not allowed to steal from anybody else.
And the principal will say, well, it's not fair. What are you going to do about it, dweeb? Throw some of your toys and Jolly Ranchers at me? You're lucky the teacher's not running you up the flagpole by your underwear. What is this video?
What if the principal said, well, you know what, I think that's a good rule. In fact, I think it's okay for anybody to do anything they want to you, but you can't do anything you want to anybody else.
Yeah, this story is a very stirring condemnation of a lopsided justice system. I'm with you. Unequal application of the law to individuals is terrible. So can we end the story now and talk about the moral argument for the existence of God? I'm starting to think you've forgotten that that's what we're here for.
Well, you might think, well, who can I go to get this overturned, to get this rule changed? You might go to the mayor. And what if the mayor says, you know, I think stealing from you is a pretty good rule. I think that rule should stand. Well, you might want to go to the governor.
Oh my God. You know, at least there's only one step left, right? Governor, then president, surely. As annoying as this is getting, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, you might want to go to the governor after the mayor and say, Mayor.
Wait, you're going to go to the governor and refer to the governor as the mayor? That's a strange tactic, but it's so crazy it just might work.
My teacher and the principal and the mayor passed a rule that it's okay to steal from me. That's wrong.
And the governor would say, why does this professor have the appearance and voice of a tiny child?
What if the governor said, I think it's a good rule. Stealing's okay. In fact, I'm going to make stealing allowed throughout the state. From now on, anybody can steal from anybody because, frankly, I think it's wrong for anyone not to share their Jolly Ranchers.
Well, hey, at least it's not just you now. I mean, sure, it's going to be a total clusterfuck, and people are probably going to be scrambling to reverse it as soon as it gets in, because it'll screw everything up so bad, and people will go, actually, you know what? That was just an objectively bad idea. We want a society where we're safe and where ownership of objects is acknowledged, and yet we put this rule in, which is measurably counterproductive. That made society far worse to live in. What the hell were we thinking? You know, so it wouldn't last because the actual humans who have to live in that society and have opinions about it would immediately turn on that governor. But at least it's no longer designed specifically to target one random child professor. So in a roundabout and very silly way, it's kind of an improvement.
So anybody can steal anything from anybody. They can steal their money, their cars, their video games, anything they want.
Yeah, so the courts and the police aren't enforcing ownership anymore, in which case the people are going to enforce it, which probably won't look pretty, and will probably just add more pressure to reverse this decision.
Well, it would be pandemonium. It'd be crazy. Everybody would be stealing from everybody.
Right, a society that's overly permissive of things like stealing becomes pandemonium. It becomes crazy. Everybody's stealing from everybody, and nobody wants to live in that society, and so we change society so it's not like that anymore. People are against that kind of thing for a reason. But I remind you, this is about the moral argument for the existence of God, and considering that, I think that where we're heading, despite what you just said, is a claim that there's no possible way to come down on the side against stealing and injustice by rational means, and the only way to do that is through God. The pandemonium, the craziness, the everybody stealing from everybody situation isn't going to be sufficient for you, is it?
So you'd probably then have to go to the President of the United States of America.
Called it.
And say, Mr. President, this is crazy. In our state, the governor passed a law that everybody can steal from everybody if they won't share. And what if the president said, I think that's a great law. From now on, in any state in America, you can steal from anybody. If they have something you want and they won't share it with you, you can just steal it. Well, at that point, what would you do?
Well, nothing, I guess. I mean, what's wrong with it? This bizarre change in society has no impact on me or anyone around me. There's no practical reason to be concerned about this. There's no reason for me to look around and go, this is actually a problem. This thing that we're doing has identifiable issues based on its own merits with regard to human well-being and society. I'm a human. I don't make decisions based on things like what makes society livable or objectively real and rationally deducible consequences of policy changes, considerations of the actual consequences and outcomes of events. I mean, come on. That's impossible. Nobody does that. I can't use my brain. I gotta use my Bible.
Well, you'd probably go to the Bible where one of the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. See? Don't just look around at the obvious consequences of stuff that happens. Just open the Bible to the 10 Commandments.
Is thou shalt not steal. And you'd probably open that up and show the president, Mr. President, God says that stealing is wrong.
And then the president's going to say what? Oh, how did that slip my mind? Silly me. What do you think the 10 Commandments are? Some sort of compliance spell? You just read them out and then suddenly people are inclined to do what you want? You know, if they did work like that, that'd be a much better moral argument for the existence of your God. You remind people of what the Bible says God wants from them, and all of a sudden they're overtaken with the awe of God's authority and change their terrible ways, even if they're atheists or Hindus or something. But it doesn't work like that. You can use the Bible to try to create a little more consensus among believers, although honestly not a lot, considering how good they've been over the centuries at twisting its words. But even in that case, when you're arguing for or against a law, at some point you're going to have to actually argue your point, like with reasons that relate to real life, not just my book says it. And fortunately, that's entirely possible, and in many cases, not that difficult. And it's far more effective and enduring when it's based on actual outcomes.
And that law you passed is wrong. You see, we have laws put out by the president and by mayors and by governors and by the president.
Laws are made by the president, mayors, governors, and the president. This is an educational program for children.
But you know what? Those laws are passed, but they're held accountable to a higher law.
Are they? I don't see Jesus coming down and overturning the president, the mayor, the governor, and the president. You might say he'll toss him in hell afterwards, but I don't think he will if the president's saved. Hell, in this scenario, the president's not even the one doing the stealing. It's the kids who want to steal Jolly Ranchers and the adults who want to steal money and cars and stuff like that. And if Jesus is going to hold them accountable, well, nobody's ever going to hear about it and be able to put that information to actual use in society, because the accountability only happens behind the curtain of death. So the accountability does no good for anyone and serves no purpose. You have a very strange idea of what constitutes accountability.
Because even when the law is wrong, there's something in our heart that tells us what is right and wrong.
Then what do you need to break out the Bible for?
God has written on our heart what is right and what is wrong.
Well, apparently not your president's heart, or your teacher's heart, or your mayor's heart, or your governor's heart, or your president's heart. So the accountability we're referring to here is people being accountable to the feeling in their heart, which appears to be having zero effect in this example. Nothing you're saying has anything to do with anything else you're saying. You're just saying things.
When somebody does something to us that we don't think is right, even if there's no law, we just know that's not right, that's not fair, and we feel like somebody has done something wrong.
Yeah, when you get treated in a way you don't like it. It feels wrong to you. When someone chops your finger off with an axe, you don't like it. That's an act of harm against your physical body. When somebody pulls down your pants in the middle of class and everybody laughs at you, you don't like it. That's an act of harm against your social status. Humans feel pain. Humans get embarrassed. Humans get annoyed when they're maltreated by other humans, because we're social animals. We want to be secure and safe and comfortable and respected and liked and not singled out for shoddy treatment, because that's at the root of what we are as animals that thrive in a social environment. And to be fair, some of that isn't even a product of our socialness, although it is kind of amplified by it, and our application of these wishes onto other people is a product of it. For animals as social as we are, in the way that we're social, it would be bizarre for it to be any other way. I would start to wonder how the hell we even survived, because that's why we've survived so well and thrived so well. It's one of our most important abilities. It's one of the main reasons why humans are so overwhelmingly successful. This in no way implies the existence of a god or that God had to write this onto your heart. You're claiming it does, but you're not presenting any reason why it does. Your feelings are evidence for your feelings. If you want me to go beyond that, you're going to have to give me some kind of a reason. Every one of your videos is just you bullshitting endlessly with nothing to back it up to these kids that you hope are watching.
You know, the Bible says in Romans chapter 2, verse 15, they show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts.
Really? Because a good chunk of the commandments in the Ten Commandments I have zero emotional investment in. A lot of it is stuff that I don't consider to be a moral issue at all. And there's a lot of stuff that I think is wrong that doesn't show up in the Ten Commandments or indeed anywhere else in the Bible. And everybody I talk to, I seem to have some sort of moral disagreement with. Even the people who I agree with on almost everything, I'll probably disagree with them on something. You know, if I didn't know better, I'd almost think our moral opinions are more a product of the culture we're surrounded by and our life experiences and the facts of different matters as we understand them and our personal emotional tendencies and our own thinking and learning than they are of some universal moral law being written onto our hearts. But hey, I guess if you say we all just think the same thing, it must be true. Theory of mind, what's that?
Their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts now accusing, now even defending them. What that means is people don't need the police, they don't need the laws to know what's right and wrong.
Yeah, I figured out that was probably where you were going from the start, which is why I was so confused that you themed this around your police toys.
They already know what's right and wrong on their heart. But unfortunately, without the police, they might not actually do what's right or wrong because we're sinful and because we're selfish.
What do you need the police for? Just open up the Bible and say, hey, look, it says right here, thou shalt not steal. It worked on the president, right? Should work on the rest of them too.
But we know what's right and wrong. And the reason we have this moral code, this knowledge of what's right and wrong in our heart is because there's a God who placed that there.
Okay, so just to be absolutely clear what your argument is here. Premise 1, you have a moral code written on your heart. Premise 2, God put it there. Conclusion, therefore God exists. So 2 unjustified premises, one of which contains the conclusion, and you expect people to think that this argument makes sense. I can see why you feel the need to target children.
So the next time somebody does something to you and you think, that's not right, guess what? You've just proven that there's a God.
You've just proven that you suck at arguing, even by Christian apologetic standards.
Because if there was no God, we could just do whatever we wanted.
Your entire story was about people doing whatever they wanted, and also there was a God. The president, the mayor, the governor, and the president were all doing whatever they wanted, and God didn't even enter the conversation. You said that if the president lifted the law against stealing, that it would be pandemonium because everyone would start stealing. That is, doing whatever they want. You've said that people are sinful and selfish, and therefore they don't care about whether God wants them to do it or not. What they care about is whether the police will stop them. It sounds like with regard to this, there's basically no functional difference between your God existing or not existing. The actual difference appears to come in when you introduce the police to keep people from stealing from each other. That was what you said actually keeps people from doing it.
And the next time someone says to you, hey, that's not fair, guess what? They've just proven that there's a God.
Didn't you just say that? Well, no, you're repeating yourself for some reason. But yeah, so the argument in this part appears to be, sometimes people think things aren't fair. Question mark, question mark, question mark, therefore God. How can I not believe it after that? Come on.
Because God placed within them and within you this inner sense of what's right and wrong.
So what about when people get in those arguments on Twitter where one person says, this is terribly unfair, and the other person says, no, it's perfectly fair, and they find no way whatsoever to agree? What about the situations where that happens and they both have a point? The situations where that happens and the only way to settle whether it meets the definition of fairness is to argue about it? Or what about those times when it's a matter of a different emotional response to the same input? If God built us like robots and planted this rule set in us that immediately makes us go, that's right, that's wrong, shouldn't it be the same rule set? Why is it different for everyone? It doesn't make any sense. At least if you said there were a bunch of different gods with their own different ideas about what were good and bad, and each one of them was responsible for building different people, maybe that would at least be coherent. But this isn't. What you're saying doesn't even link up to itself in any way I would consider remotely meaningful or interesting. It certainly doesn't lead me to the conclusion you want me to be led to, and it seems much less like a serious, good faith argument about the nature of human morality than like a typical Christian look at the clouds and the trees argument. Just point to a thing and go, therefore God. Cloud, therefore God. Tree, therefore God. People have feelings, therefore God. It's not an argument. You're literally just pointing at a random thing and saying, my God did that. Okay, how do you know? Do you have any reason to give me? Because you haven't given me one. Not one. You've just said it. Anything at all would be very much appreciated right now.
Without God, we might as well all just do whatever we wanted.
Yes, I understand the claim. That's not an argument. That's a claim. But please clarify for me. If there is a God, precisely what about that situation would be different? What would make it not that you might as well just do what you want? Because you haven't said anything about why you wouldn't just do what you want if God exists. What reason do you want people to have for not just doing what they want? Is it a hell thing? Or is it just you feel like it's wrong? Well, feelings are also a thing in a natural universe. That's not only a thing in a theistic universe. So saying that means nothing. What are you going for? If you're going to tell me that there's a good reason to not just do whatever I want in a theistic universe, you gotta give me some kind of a reason why. Don't just leave it mysteriously hanging.
The fact that we have an idea of what's right and wrong is called the moral argument for the existence of God.
No, that's called the fact that we have an idea of what's right and wrong. You said it the first time. The idiotic argument based on that, which says, look, a fact, therefore God done it, that's the moral argument.
And that's why whenever we're watching a superhero movie, we want the good guy to win.
I bet I could name lots of movies where the good guy is not the guy you're rooting for, because people have very different ideas about who the good guys and the bad guys are in a lot of scenarios.
Because we just have this moral sense that deep down inside, it's the good guy who should win. Yeah!
Thanks for watching, I guess. Please do give the video a like and click subscribe if you haven't. Big thanks to all of my supporters, early access, email list, list.logicked.com, and I'll see you next time.